Students, I wanted to talk to you about finish setting up your X. So we talked about how to get it set up this far, okay? We take our two pieces and we set them down and we tack it here, and then we flip it over and we tack it here. That's the easy part. Some of you are struggling with how to set your third piece on top here, and I have another video, a previous video on how to set it up. So make sure you watch the previous video. Okay. So, Mr. Clark, I need about 15 hands to do this. I need a clamp. I need this. I need that. You have your ground clamp here. Okay. So set your piece on the edge here. Use your clamp to hold it in place. All right. Then take and hold it. And again, I'm holding so that, I'm holding it in place here and then setting it so that it's here. So my hand's out of the way. And then I'm going to take my electrode, okay, and you can't really see behind my hand, but I'm not touching my ground clamp to make myself part of the circuit. If you're concerned about that, take your slip joint pliers, hold it with your slip joint pliers. Get my big fat gloves out of the way, okay, and you can see that I'm not touching the ground. And then all we need is just a quick tack right on the edge here. And again, with 7018, it has a tendency to burn over the electrode. Okay. Once you've tacked there, you can put your ground back on the table. You can set your X here, and go ahead and tack the back part. Once you have all four pieces tacked on, move my ground cable out of the way here. You don't have a piece of angle iron on yours like I do mine, so I'm doing some extra work on mine. Once you have all four pieces tacked on, go ahead and get your ground cable out of the way wherever you're going to place it. Then you're going to run a bead of 1/8 inch 7018 down each one of these. Okay, so I've already got one here. I'm going to run one here. Again, we're going to set it at between 115, 120, 125. Your 7018 is a drag electrode. You're going to strike your arc here. Okay. Take these big gloves off so you can kind of see what I'm doing. You're going to establish your arc and then just drag the electrode. Drag the electrode. You should feel the flux fall off of your electrode as you're dragging it. Okay? We're not doing any type of weave motion. We're not doing any type of circle motion. We're just simply dragging the electrode and we're pushing it. Okay, imagine this is laying flat. We're pushing it right in where those two pieces of metal meet. That's important, and it's important that we remember that, because when we start stacking our beads, that's going to be important to remember also. Okay, our electrode is going to be almost perpendicular to what we're welding, about 10 to 15 degrees in direction of travel. You should use almost this entire electrode in a 6-inch weld. You don't want to burnt down past what we refer to as the numbers, which is where our classification of electrode is, where it says Excalibur 7018 HR. Right there, you can see those numbers whenever you come into class. Okay, so we're going to establish our electrode, our puddle here on the handle end, and we're going to burn away from it, and just burn away from it, just as so. We're going to do all four of those, and I'm going to demonstrate that for you right now, all four of those on each one of these quadrants. All right, and that is how we set up our X. Please to observe. I've already gotten my first one run. I'm going to run my second one. Again, set yourself up, make yourself comfortable. You're going to be here a while. There it goes. Come on. And sometimes it struggles a little bit. That's why I like the tap method for establishing an arc. And just simply drag it in the direction that you want to go. I'm running just a little bit cold this morning. Making sure that you're keeping your electrode right where the two pieces of metal meet. When you get to the end of your weld, when you get to the end of your metal, you want to do a little circle, 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 and back up over the top. That's about how much electrode you should have left. The reason you do that little circle, circle, and back over the top, you want to deposit a little bit more metal, a little bit more filler metal in where that puddle ends. You don't want to just pull it out because then you'll leave a crevasse in there and the weld could spider, and that could be a defect. Okay, drop your rod, what we call it, referred to as your rod stub or your rod butt, into your rod bucket. And we want to make sure that we get all of our slag out of there. Again, this is not a 16-ounce framing hammer, it's just a chipping hammer. We're going to chip all of that slag out of there. Slag has a dual purpose. It helps cool the rod, it helps cool the weld, also protects the weld from any impurities that may be in the air, any contaminants, dust, particles, any gases or anything like that. Also, it helps to form the weld. Okay, but you want to be careful. You'll notice I'm not banging it and slamming it. I notice sometimes students, they like to bang, bang, bang. You want to be careful with that because when your weld is hot, you can actually put chip marks or little pockets inside your weld, and that can lead to a disformity or incontinuity in your weld, and so you don't want that. Take your wire brush to it, clean it out real good, make sure you got all the slag out. You want to check the corners here. That's real bad about picking up slag. There's some slag pockets right there. And typically what I do on this root pass like this is referred to as your root pass. It's your first pass. I'll take it outside and I'll take a wire wheel to it. Clean it up real good because you don't want any slag getting inside there. Okay, so we're gonna run another pass here. Again, the same thing. Boom, and just in direction of travel. It's important that this is your first step before you start stacking any beads. It's very important that this is your first step. If you try to start stacking beads before you run a root pass on all of these, what's going to happen is your tacks are going to break, and you're going to blow one of these off of here, and then you're going to come and go, oh, Mr. Clark. Okay, either that or you're going to get a real wide gap in between one of these. So it's very important that you run your root pass on every one of these, okay? And again, we're running from the handle forward, okay? From the handle forward. And I'm running a little bit cold because it's warm this morning. And you'll notice I'm not in a hurry. No need to be in a hurry. I'm not in a race. I'm just letting the electrode do the work, watching the size of your puddle. Your weld bead should be about the width of your electrode whenever you're done. You'll notice I'm not doing any type of motion. I'm just simply dragging the electrode back. Making sure that that puddle is staying right over where the two pieces of metal meet. And again, once I get close to the end, I'm going to do a little circle, and back up over the top. And again, right about now, I'm pretty close to the numbers. Okay. You can see that my weld puddle is about the same size as my electrode. Okay. Keep saying, okay, that's a bad speaking habit. And we're going to try to clear this one up a little bit. You generally should have your helmet pulled down whenever you're clearing out the slag. That slag is hot, and as you're chipping it, it could go flying anywhere. Obviously, you don't want hot slag flying into your eyes. Even though you have your safety glasses on, slag could fly behind your glasses. You can lift up your helmet to check it. And again, typically what I would do, because your root pass is very important, I would probably run this out there and run a wire wheel on it real quick after I got the big chunks of slag off of it, just to get it off of the edges. Now I got most of it off of there. There's still a few pieces right there. And then we're going to run one more right here. I'm going to run one more right here. You notice I'm welding everything in what we refer to as the 1G position, in the flat position. You've got to be able to see what that puddle's doing. If you can't see what that puddle's doing, then you need to reposition your electrode, reposition yourself, so that you can watch what is going on. And again, we're at the end, so we're going to do our little circle up over the top. Again, about the same amount of electrode that's left. Into the rod bucket she goes. Now, there's been a question about, Mr. Clark, my weldament's getting hot. What do I do? You should be quenching your weldament about every 3, not more than 4 passes. Okay? I wouldn't go over 3 passes on 1/8 inch, maybe 4 on 3/32. Okay, if you're welding over 100 amps, about 3 passes. If you're welding less than 80, 75, maybe every 4 passes. Okay, but you should learn to start reading your weld, figuring out when it's starting to get too hot, when it's pulling the puddle in too quick. This one's definitely starting to get a little warm. I'm going to quench this one before I start doing my 3/32 passes. Okay, make sure that you have all 4 quadrants with an 1/8 inch pass. That's going to fill up the bottom. That's going to be your nice root pass before you get set up to start running your 3/32. That is how you set up your X. Any questions? See me in the booth. I'll see you in the booth. This is Clark, and I'm out.